Hi Photos subscribers. Today we're talking about how lenses work. And maybe you're asking yourself, what does it really matter? Or maybe you are asking how lenses work. The important thing is it's not just good enough, in my opinion, but I'm not judging your work. For myself, I don't think it's good enough for me just to know how to zoom in and how to change the focus. I need to know how it works so I can understand some of how the finer points of aberration, the distortion that we talk about, and how it affects photography in real estate or architecture or jewelry, how it changes those lines and how it changes the appearance. Aberration is what happens when you are seeing something that is at the edge of a lens. I'm going to be talking about that because that's also affected the color, and it'll affect the focus. It'll affect the different parts of how something appears in your lens. For instance, a lens may look or make the subject look a little bit thinner than he or she is, or it may cause their arms to look longer if they're stretching their arms out. All of this aberration aberration is like a dream or something that is different than we're talking about the distortion. How does a lens work? We'll get more into the aberration of lenses and its distortion in other videos, but today, how do lenses work? The lens itself is a casing, however long it is or small, but it holds a series of lenses, and those lenses are going to allow light to pass through the lens. That way we can get the exposure we need, and the light passes through the center of that lens and all the way out, because the lens is made in a radial type form, so it's a convex. I'll show you what convex looks like in a second, but the lens itself being this tube holding all these lenses. There's a lens here in the front, very front up here, and there's a series of lenses as it passes all the way through to the back. But as complicated as it is, I'm going to try and make this as simple as possible for our about 5-minute video, which I'm already halfway past. But as these series of lenses come from the front edge into the back, those lenses, in its convex nature, looks like a bubble outside the lens a little bit. You'll see a little bit of a curve to that lens. Each one has its own special purpose to correct this, quote, aberration from this lens or the color distortion from that lens. And so each one has set specific instructions from one point to the next. Not necessarily that it's programmed or anything, but it's designed for that specific purpose, to change the color distortion or add a focus to it, or in this sense, because it's a zoom lens from 70 to 300 millimeters, when you change the focal distance, that changes your color aberration, it changes the focal aberration, the focal distance, excuse me. So, especially the longer zoom in lenses need a lot of lens care, technical detail, the technology that comes into play for this specific cause, to allow your focus to be changed, affected according to the focal length you have, and how long you want your camera to see out past, as well as the ability for more or less to be in focus, which is adjusted like we were talking about in your lens aperture opening. How small it is allows more of your background to be in focus, because less light is passing through. That allows for less distortion, and it allows for a finer focus, more in your background as well as your subject focus. But in the lens itself, as it passes through one lens to the next, that convex nature of that piece of glass is going to cause a prismatic effect, which will make the top of your subject appear on the bottom in reflection, because of the light refraction and the reflection through the glass. It'll make your image appear upside down. I'm not going to be able to illustrate that for you, but the color changes that way. The light passing through will come in from the top of your lens and make it go down to the bottom of your sensor. And all of those things have to be adjusted so that when your lens attaches to your camera sees it in one way and presents the image to you as you're expecting to see it. With all this, trying to land this plane very carefully and in as great a detail with as great a content as we can, each lens has to have a supporting lens behind it, because the front edge of each lens and the back edge of each lens is convex in nature. It means it's rounded out, and so it looks like a bubble on one side, but then the other side of that lens also has a convex nature to it. And so for that specific purpose, that distortion on those lenses, whether it's light aberration or it's color aberration or it's focal aberration, it has to have the, put this lens back in my pocket so I don't drop it, but it has to have these, that lens kind of looks like this. And so it has to have the concave lens to fit on the back of it, but the back of that lens is designed to be flat so that it allows the light waves, since each color of the light wave band that we see varies just a little bit. Blue is shortest, red is longest, and the other colors in the middle, our camera sensors take things in red, green, and blue. So green is in the middle, generally. Blue is the shortest, red is the longest. And all of those have to meet in the middle to have a good focus of red, green, and blue spectrums. The same for the general band of light anyway, for the amount of light coming in. So that way we have a good sharp focus all the way around, and it's not just like a pinhole focus through the center of the lens, and therefore would essentially remove all benefit of exposure and make everything narrow down to the very center, and making our aperture very effective, but not really helpful any way around. So a lens works by allowing the light passing through the front, and in such a way capturing the view of what we see through the viewfinder, allowing that light to pass through and be focused together, passing into the next set of array of lenses through the diaphragm, which also controls the amount of light that the camera sensor receives. And the second array of lenses behind the diaphragm will further correct the color or the focus and allow for the lens, whether it's a zoom focus or it's a fixed focal prime lens, to pass that image onto the sensor in a flat viewing plane and allow the camera sensor to interpret the colors and the light in such a way to be able to present it to you on your LCD screen so that you can get the image you're looking for in the proper perspective and orientation. Thank you so much. We thank you for viewing, and we want you to be able to learn as you continue watching these with us. So please subscribe and click that notification bell, and that way you won't miss any of the other videos we have coming out. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.